Man, oh man, good old Bob. Good old Bob comes out and let it be known that any of these major fights that you've been wishing for, as it pertains to Terrence Crawford, you can forget about all of that. Just like I've been saying for months. These fights aren't happening. You know what I mean? So people have to be content with watching Terrence Crawford come out here and fight low-tier fighters and fighters that we do not want to see him fight against. Because unfortunately, that's just going to be what his career is going to look like for the next couple of years. Probably maybe even for the rest of his career. That just might be, unfortunately, what it's going to be, unless he decides to make a move. He has a year left in his contract. I think our contract's supposed to be over in October. So he's not fighting. I guess they said to probably May, June. So I mean, his options are, he can go ahead and fight in May, June. Then after that, basically let that be the last fight in his contract. Let his contract run out and call it a day. Or he can just not fight for the rest of the year until October. Let his contract run out and start setting up big fights, because I'm sure they can set up a fight for him. He can probably do one fight, then after that, let a fight, set up a fight with somebody else at the end of the year. And then have a real big year come, 2022. He's not taking a lot of damage. He's on point when it comes to his weight, super healthy. He's that Bernard Hopkins type of fighter, I believe, with build and when it comes to his nutrition, how he takes care of himself. So he's a fighter that can fight late into his 30s. Like a Floyd Mayweather, he can be one of those. A lot of these guys whose careers are over in their late 20s and their early 30s, because most of them abuse themselves, whether it be from drugs, alcohol, or going up too high in weight, coming back down, going up too high in weight, coming back down, and not maintaining, staying 10 pounds from your weight, fight weight or whatever. Really having that up and down destroys your body, and eventually all your fast twitch muscles burn out. So one day you're good, you're in the gym, pop, pop, pop. The fight comes around, and all of a sudden, what the that punch is not going there that far anymore, because your fast twitch muscles have been burnt up, and once that goes, those don't grow back. So, but it is what it is. He has an option. He has that particular option. If he doesn't do that and he decides to stay with Top Rank, like I believe he's going to do, like he's been hinting at as he's going to do, then this is just going to be the norm. Bob Arum made it clear that when it comes to a Sean Porter, he doesn't think that's a big fight, and he's not willing to do that fight. He said if Sean Porter wants to fight for like $1 million, hey, he can do that. He'll sign up for that. He said he'd do that in a heartbeat. Or if Sean Porter wants to take him to purse bids, he can do that. But that would mean that Sean Porter's only getting paid 25% of the revenue. Sean Porter's not fighting for no goddamn 25% of the revenue of a fight, especially of that fight, that they're not going to promote, they're not going to push, nothing of that nature. Even if Fox or whatever wanted, Sean, your fighter getting paid 25%, and you're putting all your resources, I just don't see it happening. I honestly don't see it happening. When it come in, I don't see the WBO sanctioning that fight anyway, enforcing that fight. It's called what Bob orders for a reason. It said Keith Thurman, he's not investing in that fight. He said the only fight that he's willing to invest in, or he's willing to negotiate and do, is the Earl Spence fight. He said when it came to Manny Pacquiao's informed them that, they're going in a different direction. What a freaking shocker. I've been saying it from day one, that fight's not happening. So, he's saying that when it comes to the Earl Spence, he's willing to do that. He's willing to do like a duel, kind of thing with Fox and with ESPN, and that it had to be a 50-50 fight. Basically, he wants to set up kind of, I guess he's saying, kind of like the deal that they did with the what the hell is it, Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. But this is the problem. Number one, they're not doing no 50-50 when it comes to this fight. Down to what's his name? Earl Spence is out here, back to back pay-per-views. All three over 300,000 pay-per-views. I'm guessing this Danny Garcia did over 300,000. The other two did over 300,000 pay-per-views. 350, 320. High gates for both of them. High gates for all three. They just did 16,000 in the middle of a pan, whatever. They did just 16,000. You know, if that place was open and they can do put in as many people as they could, they would have had 40,000, 50,000 people in there. Easy. He's a massive draw. Terrence Crawford can't do that. He can't do anything close to what this man is doing. He can't do Gervonta Tank Davis numbers. When it comes to 147 and down, the biggest stars from 147 pounds and down, number 1 is Earl Spence. Number 2 is Tank Davis. If Tank Davis was fighting Terrence Crawford, Tank Davis would be the A side. He gets higher gates and he gets substantially more money when it pertains to pay-per-views. Sounds crazy, but it's true. You know, and it's not that Terrence Crawford's not capable of doing the same numbers these guys are. He's 100% capable of. He's the best fighter in the world. He does big viewerships with low-tier opponents. If he was given real opponents, he'd be doing ridiculous numbers on ESPN. He'd be able to do pay-per-views and do over 300,000 pay-per-views just like everybody else. But Bob Arum's not willing to invest that money into him in order for that to happen. And he's not willing to make the necessary moves as a businessman to put himself in the space and with people who will make that happen. You know, so can't really feel sorry for him. You just have to understand what the situation is. You know, because according to Bob Arum, you know, they're losing so much money with Earl Spence. They're doing all these pay-per-views and they're losing all this money, even though we never hear any PBC fighters or hear anybody from the company complaining about money. We hear about fighters from DAZN complaining about money now. We're hearing fighters from ESPN and Top Rank complaining about money. We heard Terrence Crawford complaining about money, saying that he should have got paid this, he should have got paid that for this particular fights, and he didn't get paid what he thought that he should get paid for. He should get paid. Supposedly, the deal they were having with Manny Pacquiao, and supposedly he was going back and forth, upset with the amount of money they were trying to pay him for that fight. You know, he was upset about the fact they were trying to make him do a pay cut, you know, in order for him to fight, doing the everything that was going on, and he said he wasn't doing that. You know, Bob Arum's complained about supposedly, you know, they're losing all this money on Terrence Crawford, which they're not, you know. But supposedly, which is weird, then okay, so they're losing all this money on Terrence Crawford. This side over here, they're losing all this money on Earl Spence. So now, hey, these two losing products, let's just throw a bunch of money into it and make a huge fight with these two losing products. Yeah. And that really makes sense to you, you know. So unfortunately, regardless of what he might say in the media, obviously these people still know the numbers that they're doing. They know the funds that they're generating. And they're obviously very good where they're at, you know. And they're cool with keeping things the way that it is. And they have plenty of fighters that they can do fights with. They're also working with the likes of Ennis, which they can do a fight with him. I'm sure they request, you know, Ortiz Jr., they give him a pay-per-view where he's going to get paid millions of dollars. I'm sure they'll probably end up doing something. They can do something like that. You know, there's options of things that they can do. They got guys coming up. PBC is not in the hurting of anything. They have over 200-some fighters. All weight class. They're good. They're good. You know, so unfortunately, Bob Arum is keeping that stance. And since he's keeping that stance, none of those fights are going to be happening. You know, we won't be seeing Terrence Crawford fight anybody. And I've been saying it forever, too. And people are like, oh, well, this situation happens, they'll do it. Oh, that situation, they'll do it. No, oh, they said they're calling this guy out. They're saying they'll do this, they'll do that. It's all bullish. You know? Like I always say, don't let the love of boxing blind you to reality. You know, you see people, you see how they move, you see what their blueprints are, you know, and you go by that. You know, and at the end of the day, that blueprint that I go by when it pertains to Top Rank is proven to be true, regardless of what anybody else was saying for all this time. What I've said has proven to come to fruition. Like, subscribe, share. I'm out.